It was so beautiful.
I'm free.
So who said that today was Yom Kippur? No. I tell you, it's not so bad. No, you didn't say that? It's a good one. I tell you why. No, I tell you why. I tell you what. The rabbis play with the word Yom Kippur and Purim. No, and they say the following. If when you come to... that's true. You can check it. If not, ask Rabbi Botnik when you leave. If you come in Yom Kippur, and instead of concentrating in your wrongdoings and in your soul and whatever, you just look how your neighbor aged in a year and how he's fat and and you start looking at people instead of looking inside, you did Yom Kippur Ki Purim. Ki Purim. It became like a Purim. No, it lost all the... so it wasn't so bad. So I knew this was you were thinking when you said Purim can be Kippurim and Kippur can be a Purim, and it all depends what we decide, no? There are moments in life when history doesn't just call to us, it presses upon us. Moments when we are not merely observers but participants, when we cannot walk away unchanged. In an opinion article in yesterday's Jerusalem Post, Jacob Schimmel gives a perfect example of what that means. I remember, he writes, one such moment vividly. It was a gray, rainy Friday afternoon in Washington, D.C. I was standing for the first time inside the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. At the entrance, they handed me a passport, a small, unassuming booklet. Inside was the name of a young man, Yitzhak, whose story became my guide. And in that instant, the museum ceased to be a museum, it became a mirror. Their journey began in an elevator shaped like a cattle car. The door closed and darkness pressed in, not an absence of light, but an absence of self. When the doors opened, the world unraveled in fragments. Faces in photographs, shoes in piles, a violin cracked and worn. Traces of lives erased. I walked to the museum feeling the weight of it. These weren't just stories, they were my ancestors. As you may recall, Beth Torah, some of my friends are here, and I attended the March of the Living last Yom HaShoah. And something happened that never happened before in any march, and I hope it will never happen again. In the main event after we marched, we gathered for the 6th candles lighting ceremony. 7 of the survivors on stage came from Israel. And what they have in common is that they all lost family members to the October 7 pogrom. Now, I'm talking about losing your grandchild after losing your parents in Auschwitz. And something inside me broke. I cried, but not just for them, not just for the 6 million, my family is included in that number. I cried for myself, because I stood in front of a stage full with survivors, free to cry, free to remember, and free to walk away. And with that freedom came a question that has never left me. What does it mean to live in a time when history touches you? When history is now and here. In this week's Torah portion, Kitisa, we find another moment when history pressed upon our people. Moses has ascended Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, to receive the Torah. But the people below grow restless, in fear, in uncertainty. They take their fate into their own hands and build the golden calf. When Moses descends carrying the tablets, he sees the people's betrayal. He does something shocking. וישלך מידיו את הלוחות וישבר אותם תחת ההר. And he threw the tablets from his hand and he shattered them at the foot of the mountain. Why did Moses break the luchot? The Midrash explains that he saw the letters flying off the stone, leaving them nothing more than lifeless rock. But perhaps there is another explanation. At that moment, Moses saw that history was pressing him, and he understood that the burden was now his to bear. He did not ask for his moment. He did not choose it. It came to him, and he rose to meet it. Moses could have turned away, washed his hands, declared them unworthy, but he did not. Instead, he did something extraordinary. He went back to the mountain, he pleaded with God, and he came down with a second set of tablets, different kind, this time shaped not by God, by himself. So the first tablets were divine, the seconds were shaped by human hands, carved with sweat and struggle. The second tablet teaches us that when history presses you, you cannot remain passive. You must respond. You must shape the future. When I was a kid, Jewish history felt contained, something we could step into and out of. Something held within books and museums. It was heavy, but it was settled. Today, history is no longer something we simply remember, something we are living. There are times when history moves quietly, passing through ordinary days unnoticed. There are also times like this, when history is not something that we will read later, something that is being shaped as we speak. It feels unsteady, uncertain, undetermined, because we are the ones who must give it meaning. And that knowledge is heavy. Because history, when you touch it, does not allow you to remain passive. It demands something of us now in this moment. October 7th, history pressed upon us once more. Family woke up to sound of sirens, to the unthinkable horror. Kibbutz Be'eri, Ofakim, Kfar Aza. Entire communities were shattered in an instant. Parents shielded their children, family huddled in safe room. Messages of desperation were sent with no guarantee of a response. The echo of our past, pogroms, massacres, forced exile, rose again in real time. And yet, in the face of terror, we saw heroism. We saw soldiers rush to defend the vulnerable. We saw ordinary citizens become rescuers. We saw people, amidst their own pain, extending hands to one another, ensuring that no one will be left alone in this moment of darkness. Today, we are living through a time that demands something of us. We are seeing war, rising anti-Semitism, and as we speak, we don't know, 525 days after October 7, how many are still alive? Who is coming out and who is not? We are living history, creating history. This generation of Jews, you and me, are writing another unforgettable chapter in our own history. That's why we cannot only observe. We cannot just remember. We need to act. Perhaps like Moses, we feel as though the first set of tablets, the world as we thought it should be, has been shattered. But we have a choice. We can despair or we can ascend the mountain once more. We can carve a new future, one shaped by our hands and values, our unwavering commitment to truth and justice. In moments like this, we are not just heirs to history, we are its authors. May we rise to meet this moment. May we, like Moshe, take the broken pieces of our past and shape them into something enduring. And may we always remember that when history presses upon us, it's not to crush us, but to call us forward. Shabbat Shalom.